guys! I'm traveling from London to San Francisco tomorrow, and I want to see how many books I can read on my 14-hour journey. So in case you didn't know, I am living in London right now, but I'm originally from Northern California, and I'm going home tomorrow for the first time in almost 6 months. I'm flying from London to San Francisco, and then going up to my hometown. And recently, a few of my holds for some of my most anticipated releases of the year came in from my library, and I want to see how many I can get through on my journey. So the 3 books that came in recently are Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix, Watermoon by Samantha Soto Yumbao, and The Rainfall Market by Yu Yang Guang, translated by Slin Jung. I think that one has already been out, but it's just been translated from Korean into English recently. I have Witchcraft for Wayward Girls and Watermoon on audio, and then I have The Rainfall Market on my Kindle. I think I'm probably going to start with Witchcraft for Wayward Girls and The Rainfall Market just because one is audio and one is an ebook, so I think that'll be easier to be able to read one with my eyes and listen to the other one. And I think I would get confused trying to read The Rainfall Market and Watermoon at the same time because they're both kind of about water, and I think that they have kind of similar concepts. I honestly don't know much about these 3, and I've been avoiding spoilers like the plague. Since these 3 are already out, there have been a lot of reviews of them, but from what I know, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls is, I think, set in the 70s or 80s, and it's about either a boarding school or a home where young women or teenagers who are pregnant out of wedlock get sent. And I think they go to this house or this school and spend the time that they're pregnant and then give birth there. From what I know, they find a book of witchcraft and then they use that book for something or another. I'm sure it gets pretty horrific and graphic. It is a horror, but Grady Hendrix books are usually like kind of satirical horror, which I really enjoy because body horror is a lot for me, and I enjoy the messages and also the subtle humor in a lot of his books. The Rainfall Market is about a marketplace that only is open on the first day of the rainy season. And if you get a ticket, you can go there and change the course of your life. It seems like a cozy, magical realism, but it seems kind of similar to The Midnight Library. And I loved the concept of that book, but I didn't love the execution, so I'm hoping this will give me more of what I wanted from that. And all I know about Watermoon is that it's about a pawn shop where you can sell not objects, but your regrets. And that sounds really interesting. As I said, I'll probably start with the Grady Hendrix and also the Rainfall Market, just because they're such different genres that I probably won't confuse them, but we'll see how it goes.
Penguin Random House Audio presents Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. Read for you by Leslie Howard with Hillary Huber and Sarah Morsi.
We're on the same page, Lex.
Great.
Except my page is just a little better than your page.
I think my page is just a little better than your page.
Allegra, let's be honest. My page is the best page.
Good morning. I got in around 5 p.m. yesterday and spent the 3 hours that I was awake just spending time with my parents and making dinner and stuff with my mom. And then I fell asleep promptly at 8:30. It's almost 9:30 and I've been up for 5 hours at this point. So yeah, the jet lag is hitting me hard. Northern California has an atmospheric river going over it right now, which just means that basically all day today and maybe some of tomorrow, it's gonna rain, which I can't complain about. We always need the rain up here. After I finished the Rainfall Market yesterday, I started Witchcraft for Wayward Girls on the plane, and I got about 65% of the way into that. I slept for a few hours on the plane, and then the rest of that time I was just listening to Witchcraft for Wayward Girls and playing Sudoku, which is like my obsession. I've had to undownload it from my phone several times because I will just spend hours playing Sudoku. Also, this room is really big, so if it's echoey, I'm sorry about that. I think the last time I updated you was in the bathroom on the plane. Not great sound, but I did what I could. Yeah, so I finished the Rainfall Market, and as I said in that clip, I'm gonna give it a 2-star. Emily Fox, who I actually found her watching her beauty channel years and years ago, and then she started a book channel, Books with Emily Fox. She's one of my favorite YouTubers, and she has 4 cats. So if you ever need a book and cat heavy vlog, I'd recommend checking her out. But she talks about a genre of cozy books that don't work for her, and she calls them children's books for adults. And that's exactly how this book felt to me. There was nothing like distasteful or problematic about the book, which is why I'm not giving it 1 star, which sounds really, really harsh, but I just didn't really enjoy it. I was kind of just reading it to read it, and since it was so short, I didn't want to DNF it, although honestly, I probably should have. It just didn't feel like there was any sense of tension, and the writing felt like it was keeping me at a distance. I don't know if that is because of the nature of being translated, or if the original also felt kind of detached in that way, but I didn't feel like I could get to know any of the characters. And since so much of the story was about the relationships that were being built with the characters and about their struggles and how they were wanting to find new lives for themselves, it really felt like the main thing the story wanted me to get out of it, I couldn't, because I couldn't connect to the characters. So that was a little bit of a disappointment. I am always drawn to these books that explore the concept of what would your life have looked like if you had chosen a different path. And I just haven't found one that works for me yet. So I keep picking them up and trying them and then having the same disappointment in each. I've been hearing a lot about The Husbands, which seems like it explores that, but without such an obvious message maybe. So I am interested in picking that one up. But if you can think of any other stories that really focus on different paths we could have taken and what that would mean, please let me know. I'm really interested. But then I started reading The Grady Hendrix, and I've been loving that. So it starts with our main character, and she is being dropped at a home for pregnant teens out of wedlock in Florida. It hasn't been as horror forward as I thought it would be. I'm about 65% through, and so far I think there have only been like 2 or 3 graphic scenes. There was one involving bugs, and that one really freaked me out just because I've always had kind of a phobia of bugs getting in my ears or like eating bugs in my sleep. You know, when you're told when you're little, you eat an average of 8 spiders throughout your lifetime, that always freaked me out. So the scene with bugs really gave me the heebie-jeebies. But besides that, it hasn't been very horror. It feels kind of like a historical fiction with a witchy horror element. And I've been really, really enjoying it. I think so far this is my favorite Grady Hendrix book. I've also read The Final Girl Support Group, The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, and Horror Store. And all 3 of those felt a little bit more satirical. This one doesn't feel as satirical. The horror of this really feels more like the horror of what it is to be a woman and what it is not to have control of your own body or control of your own choices, which is very relevant to right now, especially being back in the US for the first time in 6 months. So I'm really enjoying this book so far. I do have to say that 65% of the way through, I can feel that this book is almost 500 pages. I feel like so much has happened already, and I just don't see where we're gonna get several more hours of audiobook. Because I'd say right now, about 60% of the way through, something big happened, and it feels like it's changing the course of where the book is gonna go, but I don't see how we're still just a little over halfway done with the book. I've been loving the messages about bodily autonomy, about control, about power and what it means to have power. And I've been loving the relationships built in this book. The characters and their bond to each other is so unique because of this terrible circumstance they're put in, and all of the characters have so many different sides and so many different motivations. And so many of these girls are young and they're struggling because they are going through something very adult, but they aren't adults and they don't feel like they can rely on the adults in their lives. So I've been really loving it. Right now it's feeling like a 4-star, but I mean, if the ending does something crazy or really hits me, it could probably be higher. And then if the book feels like it's dragging out, kind of how it has felt in the last 5 to 10%, it might go down to like a 3.5. I'm thoroughly enjoying it and I'm really excited to continue reading it, but I don't see this being a new favorite of all time. Yeah, so that's my update, and I hope you've been enjoying seeing little slices of my area. It's nice that it's raining, and it's really amazing seeing California so wet and so green right now, especially because the fires so recently in LA. So I do love seeing the rain come down, even though I was hoping to escape some of the UK dreariness and get some sun here, but I think I will over the next few days, and I'm supposed to go backpacking this weekend, so hopefully by then it'll be at least a little sunnier. So I just finished Witchcraft for Wayward Girls and I really liked it. So I'm thinking maybe like a 4.25 if we're gonna be very specific. The only thing holding me back from a 4.5 is that, as I mentioned before, I'd say between like 65 and maybe like 80-85%. It definitely dragged a little bit, but besides that, I really loved it. It definitely got a little gorier towards the end, and if you're sensitive to things like birth or birthing scenes, I would probably skip this one. Although one of the main reasons that I wanted to finish it so quickly actually was to watch Jan Agaton's spoiler-filled reading vlog, and she's notorious for hating anything to do with like pregnancy or childbirth in her books, and even she really liked it. So maybe that actually wouldn't be such a big discouragement, but it definitely does get pretty graphic and gory. The tone of the book was pretty consistent throughout, just about it being less goofy or silly horror than previous Grady Hendrix books I've read. And although towards the end it got more graphic, it didn't really lean into horror. It was interesting that for the most part, the speculative or paranormal elements weren't the horror part. The horror was more about what it is to be a woman and not have control of your body and not be listened to by the people around you or not be believed. So I enjoyed how he kind of flipped the script a little bit there and focused on the horror of the real life amidst the paranormal, fantasy, witchy elements. The epilogue was really satisfying. It was nice to know where people ended up. I don't want to go into any spoilers, but the epilogue did tie together some loose ends and just left it at a very satisfying point. So I only read 2 books in this video. It's my first reading vlog though, so just for a little recap, I read The Rainfall Market and I gave that 2 stars, and then I'm giving Grady Hendrix, I'll probably for now settle on like a 4.25. If I give it a 4.5, what I do is round it up on Goodreads, and I don't know if it feels like a 5-star to me. So I'll see how I feel. I'll see if I end up giving it a 4 or a 5 on Goodreads, but it's definitely somewhere in between the two. This is definitely one of my first times reading a new release so promptly, especially one that's been used as a book club book for some of the people I follow. So I know Kayla's Literally Dead book club is using it as their book club pick this month, and Jan is using it for her full moon book club as well. So I'm excited that I finally get to tune into some of these live shows and actually know what's going on and be there while it's actually happening instead of watching it back later. So even though I only liked one of the 2 books, I would still call this a success, because I got to read 2 of my most anticipated releases of the year, and one of them was a new favorite book from the author. So thank you for joining me on this little travel/reading adventure, and I hope to see you next time.